Welcome everyone to WCU Entertainment Review. I'm your host Jimmy, here with Dylan, who is like the 76ers to the NBA. He doesn't matter. Now Dylan, this week we're going to talk about a couple of things, you know, Game of Thrones, Mortal Kombat, and the Ghostbusters.
Who are you going to call?
No one.
Oh yeah, they're not a thing anymore.
We're on camera. Why would I call somebody?
Jimmy's uncultured. You have to understand this.
I text. This is the year 2015. But we're going to send it over to the green screen with Jimmy and Dylan, those handsome devils. And Dylan, we're back here on our set. I guess we should come up with a name for it. Pick one.
The green screen?
I like it.
Yeah, okay, the green screen. Welcome to the green screen, everybody.
And here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Mortal Kombat, as you can see behind us. Mortal Kombat 10 is coming out later, actually in April.
Oh,
and
yeah. It's really soon, isn't it?
It's very soon. And, you know, here's the thing, Dylan. Mortal Kombat kind of has a weird video game history. You know, a lot of games we've talked about, you know, are newer, but this one has actually been around since 1992 and is actually responsible for that little rating this game gets on the bottom of every game cartridge in the country.
Yeah, it's probably one of the oldest continuing franchises that still exists.
Well, why don't you explain? Why don't you explain why there's those little?
Okay, well,
ratings.
In the original Mortal Kombat, you could do something called a fatality, which in the early 90s was the most bloody, gory, and ultra amazing scene in the video game industry because nobody else did it before. This made people a bit worried that their children were going to become killing machines. So angry parents forced the video game industry to make the ESRB, I think it is? Yes, the ESRB, which is a rating system. M for mature, T for teens, E for everyone, and A for adults only, which kills video games.
And here's the thing. You know, this game and those ratings have basically
cemented,
allowed a lot of games like Grand Theft Auto to sell a lot because they've had the opposite effect. But regardless, this game has actually been really great. You know, you have stuff such as fatalities, animalities, babalities, and also just a good cast of characters that people really like.
And most of the games are decently successful. Like there's been a few bad eggs, but for the most part, I mean, 92, that's almost 30 years. It's older than 30 years, isn't it?
And it's actually been really great for a lot of people for this actual series now, because it's in a new generation. PS3, they had Mortal Kombat 9 where they introduced a story system. This game is actually going to introduce environmental things that came from the Injustice Gods Among Us series with DC Comics. So, you know, it will be interesting to see. And also, do you remember when we said last season about how they need to do like a
Freddy versus Jason kind of thing?
Like video game?
Yeah, guess who's in it?
Last year they had Freddy Krueger in it. This year they're going to actually have Jason Voorhees in it. So hopefully we're closer to that moment.
Also, here at Entertainment Review, we can predict the future, apparently. So, if we say any numbers, put those in the lottery, give us maybe 10%?
10, 9, 8, 67, 45.
There
and
we
we
go.
will send it back to the desk.
Over there. They're not weaving back. So it was an interesting Mortal Kombat trailer.
Yes, it was. But here's the thing that I think is funny. We go from a game about killing people with fatalities to a show about killing a lot of people for...
Nothing.
Depends on the reason, really. But let's send it over to the TV panel to talk about Game of Thrones. And we're back here with the TV panel. We're going to talk about Game of Thrones today. So guys, we're going to talk about a show that is basically coming back in April and is basically the biggest show on television at the moment. And who wants to just explain this monstrosity of a show? I'm looking at you, Erica.
Okay, well, like we said before, this show is just about these people. Most of them are royalty who are fighting for a crown. There's lots of murder. There is lots of nudity and dragons.
But yeah, and the thing is, you know, the show is basically based around kind of like a...
the English Civil War.
Yeah.
The author says it isn't,
Yes.
but it's based upon the English Civil War.
Yeah, and it has a bunch of like, you know, it has a bunch of like fake elements that, you know, mystical elements and stuff like that. So I mean, it's a show that's like so weird, like it's hard to explain. Like the other day, I saw a little short on Huffington Post that said the cast couldn't even explain the show in 30 seconds because it's that complicated because there's so much going on.
And we're trying to not spoil the show as well. We can't really
a lot
describe
of the times
much.
it's like a show within a show. Each character has a plot that's so complicated that they each probably could have their own spinoff.
And they also have 2 separate shooting schedules.
Yeah.
No other show does that, to where there's people in like one country, and there's a whole other film going on in another side of the country, which means it's got to be just a headache trying to deal with all that.
Big budget, tons of actors, tons of set props. It's effectively Lord of the Rings, the TV show, like just in the amount of money and effort and manpower being invested into it.
I mean, Game of Thrones, the book series, has been around since the early 90s, and the books alone are over 1,000 pages long. So I can't imagine what the showrunners go through trying to condense that much into 10 episodes a season. And yeah, it's just crazy. It's
and
a massive scale.
They're trying to get over actually 7 seasons.
Yeah.
So I would assume they're probably going to go 10 seasons.
Yeah.
Well,
10 years later, Game of Thrones season 50.
I'll take it. Whatever Game of Thrones wants to throw my way, I will watch.
The biggest issue is George R.R. Martin takes about 6 years to write one book, and the show's catching up on him.
Yeah.
So
And
really
he's
feeling the
getting a
pressure.
little bit to the heavier side. So
Oh.
hopefully he doesn't die.
Well-
Apparently there's a backup plan in case he dies. Like I think like 3 or 4 people actually know what the final plots are. Like
Yeah,
the
he
TV
told-
producers.
Right.
The producers, just in case he does die, so that
Yeah.
they can finish the show.
Well, the funniest thing is if you actually look online, there's like these ridiculous like conspiracy theories of what like they're like, oh, this guy didn't really die in this show. This guy didn't die. It's like, come on.
Sean Bean is dead. There's nothing we can do about it.
Sean Bean's
Sean-
dead in everything.
If he's in a movie, he's dead.
You know
Yeah.
his character is dying.
Get attached very quickly, but you see him die. That is the curse of Sean Bean.
It's just kind of like, because we'll try not to spoil anything from season 4. Anything below that, well, you know,
It's been out for a few
you took
years.
your risk. But why don't we talk about our favorite moments? Courtney, why don't we start with you?
Well, one of my favorite scenes, talking about blondes, I love Daenerys Targaryen so much, and one of my favorite scenes happened in season 3 when she freed all the slaves and got her dragons back, and she had her army behind her, and she just conquered everything. And it was great because no one thought she could do it because she was a woman. It was like girl power.
And you finally get to see the dragons for the first time in how many seasons?
Yeah, really.
Oh, the dragons are actually doing something. That took
All that money, that's where it's going.
And a spoiler alert, she's not actually blonde.
You take that back.
Dylan, what's your favorite moment?
My favorite moment, it probably comes when Sam first encounters the Whites, and he's in the middle of the woods/snow, and he's just hiding behind the rock, and you just see them looking down at him, and he just looks petrified, and it's funny. And I just love Sam as a character.
Yeah, it's
He's a good one. He's a good one.
He's fun.
Yeah.
And probably for me, I would have to say the Red Wedding. Yeah, I said this earlier, guys, but we sat there and I watched it before I actually watched the show. Because, that was like just an internet thing. Like, it was on everything. This big scene, you have to see it. So I finally watched it, and I didn't know anything about the show at the time. And I go ahead and I watched it. I rewatched the series. I knew it was coming, and I was still surprised when it happened. That was crazy. But
That one hit you hard.
It does.
Yeah, it's so intense.
now, Erica, what is your favorite moment?
Okay, I have not a favorite moment, but I have favorite situations.
Okay.
My favorite situation is whenever the Stark family tries to get back together, and they're like this close, and then they don't.
They're running out of Starks.
They really are.
They're like within like arm's reach of each other, and they don't know. And then something happens, and they have to be separated.
I think it's the curse of the main patriarch of the family still affecting everybody.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
basically.
Not the character, the actor.
Sean
Whatever he touches, whatever Sean Green touches.
If he walks on the screen, he's dead. Just assume.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sean Bean, you're the reason we can't have nice things. So
Yes,
yeah.
he is.
Now, we're going to close that up there, guys, and we will be right back to talk about movies. Well, Dylan, we have seen a lot about killing today, but we're not going to do that anymore because we're going to talk about a series that's killing itself with the Ghostbusters.
Oh my.
So let's head it over to the movie panel with Erica, Courtney, Jimmy, and Dylan. And we're here to talk about movies, guys, and we've kind of already talked about it, but with Sean Bean being dead in every movie, he's going to need some Ghostbusters because at some point that man's coming back. And to tie that into what we're talking about here, a couple months ago they talked about how they were going to reboot Ghostbusters with a female cast.
Yeah, no, female cast.
A lot of them are SNL alums. Actually, I think
Yeah.
everyone but Melissa McCarthy is. And they actually now are saying they're going to do a male version reboot, which is kind of bringing up the question what I want to talk about today, which is why. There's no point whatsoever to do
You
this.
have to hit both two target demographics. Group research has stated that certain viewers would not watch an all-female Ghostbusters.
Well, I know there was a kind of a like,
That's probably the official
stink
policy
about from males on the internet about how dare you make this male group female, which who cares?
And then people are going, oh, it's feminism taking over, and then all that men's right association stuff.
I think it's just artistic license. You want to try something new.
Well, they're saying like it's going to be like a Marvel universe with Ghostbusters, which is just like, that's the worst.
No one really wants that.
Like, that is like trying to swing for a home run and just bunting the ball. Like, what are you doing?
Let's try and milk it as much as we can.
Well, if you're going to do a male version, it needs to have the original three surviving members.
Oh yeah, he died recently, didn't he?
Yeah.
Harold Ramis died last year.
Yeah, unfortunately, but you know. Bill Murray's always said he doesn't want to come back. You know, he's had moments where he seemed like he might come back, but you know.
Well, the second one kind of flopped.
Well, the second one didn't. Actually, it didn't flop. It made money. It's just a lot of people don't consider it up to the first movie, which I disagree personally. I think the second one's actually funny. But
you're in a minority.
I don't care. I'll deal with that. That's how I roll.
Well, I'm sorry.
I just feel that they should have let the female cast film and show what they have to offer and then decide to do a male one. To have both of them, I guess, in production at the same time is just ridiculous.
True.
Because you're going to see one and you're not going to see the other. You're not going to see two Ghostbusters movies within like 2 to 3 years of each other.
Very true.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Why does it have to be whenever we give females something in the entertainment industry, we have to give something to the men? And also I know that Channing Tatum's involved and
I mean, he's good at comedy, but...
Yeah, he's good at comedy. The Jump Street movies are funny, but it's just kind of like, I feel like now when anyone ever wants anything to be successful, Channing Tatum.
It's going to be Seth Rogen, Channing Tatum,
Jonah
Hill, and every other...
Zac Efron probably, or like Dave Franco.
Bill Hader.
I kind of want to see them as Ghostbusters.
But here's the thing. If you're going to do those movies, you're taking a big financial risk just from a business major because you're not thinking about the fact of, what if the woman's movie bombs?
Yeah.
And then you have the male movie, which... Ghostbusters is going to be dragged through the mud because you're going to have that name dragged through the mud, and then you're going to have to deal with that. You know, so you have those problems. And the biggest thing I can say for sure is, you know, as a fan of the original Ghostbusters series, I mean, I used to love the cartoon. I loved the original movies. I used to have all the toys. Like, I had the big Playhouse set and the Ecto-1, and the Ghostbuster proton pack made of plastic. If you're going to do that type of movie, you know, you really need to make sure the movie actually works.
You need to support it too. You can't just say, oh, we don't feel that one of these is going to be powerful enough on its own. So that means we have to have a male and a female version.
Do not Batman and Robin this movie.
It's also just insulting for the female, like for the people making the female movie. It says that we do not believe your work is good enough to support by itself.
And that's why Sony's having the problems that they're having.
That's what I felt. Slap in the face. Yeah. It's, you know, we gave you guys, you know, a female Ghostbusters cast, but we don't support you.
It feels like they're just kind of feeding into all the internet trolls that were so outraged at the female cast. They're like, all right,
and if Sony didn't learn anything from the Christmas time debacle of the interview, don't listen to the internet.
No.
Regardless, we are actually on the internet.
So listen to us.
Listen to us. But, you know, we're going to actually go to close the show today. And, why are we all wearing flannel?
I think Dylan has to change.
Besides Courtney. I believe I said this before, and I'll say it again. This is never supposed to happen again.
We actually have a person that actually manages, and
Karen.
Screwed up today.
Yeah.
Brandon?
Yeah, Brendan.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I think you guys look fantastic. I think the whole thing looks great, and
it ties it together.
It does.
Nicely.
It really makes me feel like part of the team.
Oh my God, it's spreading.
Thank you guys.
That's Brandon, everybody.
I feel like this is why we shouldn't have him be our costume director anymore.
No, it's a weird world.
Anyway, we'll be back next week.
Have a good one, everybody.